Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today in the next of our series of talks with one of our authors. I'm delighted today to be joined by Professor Carole Davis, who is the author of our new book, Coming to a Bookshelf Near You, Developing Soft Skills in Mariners. And today we're going to hear some information and gain some insights about this book, what's inside, and why you should be going out and getting a copy. Carole, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And this book has been in development for a while now. So thank you to the Nautical Institute for enabling me to publish it.
My pleasure and our pleasure indeed. Developing soft skills in mariners. Take us back to the beginning. Tell us how this book came about. Tell us why it was important for you to write it, and what would you like to achieve? What's your aim for this book? What are your hopes for the future?
Of course. So first of all, how did it come about? 2021 to 2022, I was seconded from Warsash Maritime School to the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency to take on the role of Assistant Director for Modernising Maritime Education. Part of that remit included leading a review of human element, leadership and management courses, HELM for short. That was great. However, I identified a gap, which was a well-written and informative book for facilitators who were developing soft skills in mariners. That book is the outcome. Facilitators, they benefit from a practical resource, tips and techniques, really thinking about the approaches which are most effective when you are seeking to develop soft skills, not just for seafarers, but also for shore staff. And there wasn't one. So we set about writing one, and I think it will hit the spot. The book is aimed at a wide audience. It's inclusive whilst being specific. So those who are designing and developing soft skills courses, they might be college-based, or they might be consultants hired by companies to develop soft skills amongst their workforce. I'm also interested in those senior officers, and I think this will be good for them in how at sea, in busy and challenging circumstances, they can create teachable moments, not just for cadets at the beginning of their career, but also those team members who are perhaps looking to step up or develop their career further.
And just unpacking the title a little bit, there's a couple of terms there that are probably worth explaining to our audience. Soft skills. I think we all have an idea of what we mean by soft skills, but it'd be helpful if you could just outline for us within the definition given in this book what you mean by soft skills.
Absolutely. So it's soft skills, it's one of these terms, it's everywhere all at once, but what does it mean? So when we talk about soft skills, we are talking about leadership, management, diversity, managing critical incidents, decision-making, teamwork, allyship. It is also about the ability to process critical incidents. However, you get those soft skills right and you consolidate them and you imbibe them in your workforce, better well-being for your employees, better safety, so less collisions, near misses and accidents. It is good for everyone, including the commercial bottom line. I can't tell you how important soft skills are. Now, I appreciate that of late, there's been a bit of a pushback about the term. I'm clapping back. I'm owning it. I am acknowledging the importance of soft skills because they will heal and make the world a better place, particularly in maritime, if they are integrated into not just the workplace, but also the curriculum. The book tells you more, so dive in and you'll see the reasoning behind this and why we don't go with the human element, the human factor.
And I absolutely agree on everything you said there about the importance, of soft skills, particularly in safety critical domains like shipping. What's been your own background or experience in either facilitating or having your own soft skills developed?
Yeah. So this book evolves from 30 years experience in vocational pedagogy, and I use the term pedagogy to encompass all teaching and learning and assessment. I don't make the distinction between adults and children. It's all learning and it's all good. I started my career as a nurse. I was a cancer nurse specialist, palliative care nurse, a Macmillan nurse. And for me, those teachable moments occurred in the workplace. I loved teaching. I loved working alongside people and transforming their practice so that was impactful for society and for patients. I continued to do that, moving through a career in higher education, the last 5 years in maritime, and thinking, this matters, this really matters. And let's just not look at what is taught in a learning environment which is structured and formal. So we're talking about professionally accredited courses, which I know you're going to ask me about that later, which are important to progress through the career trajectory. But also when companies, they see something is needed amongst employees and, things are not going well, or people are struggling, or there's been a critical incident.
Picking up the point you made there about healthcare and driving up performance, and in the case of shipping, hopefully profit, but certainly performance. You use the term, on the front cover in fact, you use the term facilitators handbook, and you avoid specifically, I notice, trainer, instructor, lecturer. Why is the choice of term important?
Yes, it's deliberate. So for me, soft skills are, when you attend a soft skills course, it should be an immersive experience.
Right.
You want to engage people, you want them to experience. There is a lot of applied learning. You are co-creating with the participants, and I deliberately call them participants rather than learners or students, so it's most inclusive and cooperative. And what facilitators do, they create the conditions. Like me, 30 years experience, a lot of skill in being able to select the right kind of approaches in a safe environment, challenging with warmth and control. But sometimes using the term trainer or teacher suggests that it's actually very the person at the front delivering, that there is no appreciation of the knowledge and the experience that participants bring. So it's a way of making it easy, still leading, and we are facilitating a learning experience. So I hope that answers your question, but it's very deliberate in the choice of those words.
Sure. And I notice, having read the book, very much enjoyed reading it this week, I noticed there's a lot of time devoted to the tools and the techniques and the principles and practices that facilitators can follow to create a learning environment, a safe space for people to go and learn. Why have you given so much time, and why have you thought it's important to cover that element of setting up a space for learning? That applies so much to hard skill training as much as it does soft skill training. So how important is that space that people are introduced to learn in?
It's the difference between success and failure.
Right.
It's the difference between people being able to apply what they've learned in the workplace. It's a difference between staying as you are with the same point of view and not developing your soft skills, and transforming how you are as a leader, a colleague, an individual. And what we recognise, and certainly my experience, and all the evidence tells us that just in the same way as navigation, marine engineering, learning, creating a learning environment has its own distinct body of knowledge. Right. So the extra detail is for those who perhaps want to reflect and refresh. Perhaps they're already very effective facilitation skills, and those starting off, it's saying you make every second count. You don't waste this, and you choose the right approaches, the right methods. And not only that, you build a framework which is about evaluating the impact, not just in the classroom, but when they return to ship.
Sure.
Trust me, this really works.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the word reflection there. It's so important in learning in general, but particularly in soft skill training. We'll come back to that in a second. But one of the things that I was keen to just touch on was how soft skills are assessed. If we've created that safe learning space, we've arranged the room, we've set out the brief to the participants, and we've set some exercises, some group work, whatever. How do you as a facilitator ensure that assessment of soft skill development, soft skills in people, how do you ensure that is as objective as it can be, number one? And if there was a group of facilitators, how do you ensure that their respective assessments are consistent?
Yes, and it's such a good question. So we take a multi-pronged approach.
Right.
So part of the soft skills development and the immersive experience is about giving people the wherewithal, so the tools, to self-assess. And in the book, there are many examples of how you do this. There's also, and you see the chapters are many and varied, peer learning and peer assessment, again using a structured tool.
Right.
The facilitator, a chapter at the end looks at how facilitators develop their skills in assessing participants in the most enabling way. And it offers, again, a clear framework and the foundations on which it rests is, again, the content in the book. We'll look at how, when they are back in the workplace, colleagues and also line managers can see the impact. And you hope there will be impact. And if it's well facilitated, the course that's been attended, whether it's a bespoke course the company's commissioned or it's a professionally accredited course, that they are different.
Sure.
They are more effective and they are a good role model for their colleagues. This is about growth.
Absolutely. And you talk about courses there, maybe professionally accredited courses, and taking what is learned in a learning environment back onto ship, back onto the job. I know our viewers out there will be very interested to know that STCW mandates leadership and teamwork training at the operational and the management level. There's model courses, IMO, model course 1.39, 1.40, Train the Trainer 6.09. All of these courses are about teaching, or about learning, or about developing those soft skills. Was it your intention when you set out on this journey to write this book that this would be a resource for facilitators of those courses?
Absolutely. And this is so important. However, comes with a caveat, and I'm inviting the designers, the developers, and those who deliver those courses to look beyond the content and the outcomes. Use my book. And really think about the delivery.
Right. And we think of facilitators, or often we think of facilitators in this context as people in academies, in classrooms, or in training areas that are delivering structured programs according to a syllabus or curriculum. What about facilitators who might be senior leaders at sea, senior officers on a ship, who aren't in a classroom setting but are very much driven to try and improve soft skills on board, on the bridge, in the engine room, around the ship? Does this book help those people?
Without a doubt, it will. It will make them think about, as we mentioned before, those teachable moments, even, in the midst of chaos and, a busy watch, that you can really inform and enable someone to make sense of something that's happened. And again, we're, very much on soft skills here. A critical incident, the ability to look around and consider your own well-being and those of others, allyship, kind leadership, thinking about the diverse nature of crews, and those senior leaders are in a perfect position to be role models and to facilitate learning at sea. And I would also be encouraging them to look at how those employees who they are offering those teachable moments to also step up and engage, because there has to be reciprocity.
Sure.
And these courses will encourage participants to be bolder and braver and more proactive.
Sure. And just wrapping up, I suppose, thinking about the markers or the measures of success, and also your own hopes for the book. 8 chapters, circa 100 pages. There's a lot in there. It's for facilitators in the broadest sense of the word. What would you consider to be the sort of measures of success of this book in terms of having the impact, having the outcome that you'd hoped it would have in improving interventions on shore, at sea? What would make you think that book has hit the mark? It's done exactly what I hoped it would do.
Yes. 3 things. First of all, I want participants to come away from those courses thinking, I am changed.
Right.
That was not just enjoyable, but I have learnt. And part of that is the responsibility I have in applying those soft skills in the workplace for the good of the industry and my colleagues, but also myself. The second thing would be that those facilitators feel more empowered, more agency. They start adopting new methods and approaches to learning. They try new things, and they may take some risks, but they realize that teaching and learning has its own body of knowledge, as fundamental as technical knowledge, and they can make such a difference. And finally, that companies realize the responsibility they have in commissioning soft skill courses in a very deliberate way that will have measurable outcomes for the commercial gain, the retention of staff, and the well-being of all.
Thank you, Carole, for sharing those 3 points, those 3 hopes and aims for the future of this book and the outcome of this book.
My absolute pleasure, Stephen. And please, anyone who's listening or watching this, any questions, you get in touch with me. I'd love to talk.
Thank you.